Have you ever noticed a website like this? It's posting content every hour. How is that even humanly possible? The only way to do this is through AI and automation. Today, we shall be exploring together how we can use different automation tools and workflows to build a content system, a machine and a factory that produces content for you every hour and ranks you on the top of all SEO articles. This is super important for you entrepreneurs, agency owners, as well as business owners who wants to promote their businesses higher in the Google ranking. Today we shall be building together our own workflow and implementing it for our business. Are you ready? Because I am. Okay, this is the workflow that we'll be using to automate WordPress today. I know it looks complex, but it's actually very simple to make. It uses multiple building blocks so that we can easily customize and modify each section. It requires a little bit of technical knowledge, so make sure that you're familiar with tools like n8n that we'll be using for this workflow. How this works is actually we find news articles or any other articles that relates to your blog post. We're going to reference from a few competitors or a few niche, and we're going to cluster important and relevant topics together and use this information to copyright for our own blog articles. We're going to find important information like who's the author, is there any related parties mentioned, is there any quotes or facts in the articles, and we're going to use this as benchmarks and pillars for our content that we're going to write. In the next step, we're going to use 3 AI agents. One acts as the manager or the boss that creates tasks for the other agents to perform. Another one which acts as a content writer, which writes each paragraph, generates images for you, as well as generate charts and tables for our blog. The third one acts as the quality checker. This one actually checks whether the quality is good enough for us to publish and also checks if the threshold is beyond a certain level. If not, we're going to keep modifying and revising our article until it's good enough. And then we're going to generate important things like the meta title, the meta description, the banner image, and then publish it directly to WordPress so that your blog and your articles can be published automatically every hour. This is super important so that we can boost up our site's performance on WordPress. And now I'm going to show you a sample article that we have generated. Okay, this is a sample article that we have produced. We can see a beautiful banner image, we can see an introduction, we can see the main body as well as outbound links. These outbound links are very important for us to rank on top of our niche in Google. And then we also can see that we have mentioned a lot of comparison, introductions, and also there's an image inside the blog. This is just to make sure it's more fun and interacting for other readers when they're going through a long paragraph, a long body of text. We see that we have made comparison to other competitors, a beautiful table that actually visualizes this differences between our main subject and other competitors that we are referencing to. We see that it has a good outro, has a good conclusion, as well as other images in the conclusion part. I would say that this article is a pretty good success, has good references to other sites. What's most important is at the end we need to convert every viewer that we see into paying customers. Once we have this, our whole content funnel has been created from just one workflow. You can get the workflow from this link that I have inserted in the description below. In this link, you will find the whole workflow, the other tools to generate the images, generate the chart, search the web, and complete documentation so that you can run this yourself. This workflow runs on n8n, so make sure you already have an account there. And if you don't, I will set you up through the whole process in this video. You can also find this workflow on this community on Skool.com. In this community, you will find tutorials of n8n from beginner, intermediate, up to advanced. We also have the full workflow for you to download, as well as you can use this opportunity to really connect with other business owners, individuals, as well as entrepreneurs that's automating their SEO, their blog, as well as their day-to-day lives. Alright, let's get started. So this is the main workflow that we have, and you can download this workflow either from the Gumroad link or from our Skool link. Okay, the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that it's the correct workflow that we're downloading, the $29, and we're gonna go ahead and press buy. This is the email address that you need to receive the workflow, then your contact information, press pay. Okay, after you finish purchasing, you're going to view a lot of files that we have access to. We're going to go ahead and download each of these files. One is the technical setup, which is basically guidelines on how we can set up this workflow, or it's also available on GitHub. So in this GitHub, you can see the exact process from step 1, how does it work, how does it integrate with one another, and how does the data flow. So this workflow is pretty much complete, and with guidance on how to set it up and what each function and module does. But if you require additional information, I'm here to guide you and set up the whole process for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and download all the files one by one. So we have the technical setup, we have the content generator, we have the MCP tools such as chart generation, image generation, and web search. And then we're going to go ahead and insert all of these files into n8n. You can also get all these files from Skool. If you're a part of our community, AI automation community, you can go to Classroom, search for the expert automation, and over here we're going to select the content farming v3. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you will find the resources, which is exactly the same workflow as we have downloaded earlier. Okay, now we're going to go ahead to n8n and set it up over there. So if you're unfamiliar with n8n is basically tools for you to implement your automation journey. So in n8n, it has its own cloud services. I think they still charge around $20 per month. And we can either use this or we can deploy it ourselves on Railway. So if you want to use the n8n cloud version, go ahead. It starts with 2.5K. I'm going to attach you the link below. And we're going to press start the free trial. Over here, you're going to register and then generate an account name. I use Railway to deploy n8n, and they already have a lot of templates. For example, this is one template that we have. This is the one that I use and the one I like the most. It's deploying n8n with workers. So you can just use n8n via the cloud as well as deploy it yourself. So if you deploy it yourself, they're going to ask you to make an account, register, and by deploying n8n yourself on Railway server should cost you around $5 each month, which is much cheaper compared to the n8n that we have on n8n cloud. Okay, since I already have an account, let me just show you an empty n8n template that I have. Okay, so this is an empty n8n template that I've deployed about 5 days back. And as you can see over here, the cost that I spend is around $5 per month. Of course, this requires you to have some technical knowledge on how to manage your server, if the memory leaks and whatnot. But if you like a simple option, I suggest going ahead with n8n. Okay, now we're going to log into our n8n cloud. Over here, we're going to see a link to our n8n, and we're just going to go ahead and access it. So here it tells you to set up the account. I'm just going to have it like demo@m0.com, demo account, and the password off. Okay, now we're going to go create an account, and they're going to ask you for some basic information which you can honestly tell about yourself. Okay, get the free license key, or we can just skip it for now. So now we have an empty n8n dashboard. If you use the n8n cloud, it should also look something similar to this. So we already have an empty account. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start from scratch. We're going to create our first workflow, and we're going to call it content generator v3. Okay, for all of you who are unfamiliar with n8n, we're just going to go press the 3 buttons and press import from file. We're going to search for the files that we have just downloaded, and we're going to press the content generator v3. Okay, and simple as that, we already have our full workflow in our n8n account. So we're going to go ahead and press save. Okay, great. Now we're going to create a few more workflows, all related to our tools earlier. So we're just going to create another workflow, and we're going to call it MCP web search. Then we're going to go ahead and import from file. We're going to find the web search MCP tool that we just downloaded. Okay, going to press save. Then we're going to create another workflow. We're going to call this MCP image generation. We're going to press import from file, image generation tool. Great. Then we're going to press save. Okay, we just need one more tool left. Going to call it MCP chart generation. create, import from file, chart generation, okay, we're going to press save. So now we already have our 4 main workflows, and the other that we downloaded was just technical documentation. So now we're going to go ahead to the main important one, content generator. So we already have our workflow here, but we have not yet given access to our important features like the database, the MongoDB, the WordPress, the Leonardo, the ChatGPT. So we're going to go ahead and set all of them up right now. Okay, the first and foremost, most important one is ChatGPT. So we're going to go ahead and go to the website called platforms.openai.com. Over here you need to create an account, and then you need to connect a credit card to it. Why? It's because we're going to use ChatGPT for its API instead of the web dashboard that we usually use. Okay, this is a bit different because in the web dashboard we can just pay $20 per month for unlimited chatting. But in API we have to pay per usage. Okay, so I'm going to create a new security key. I'm going to call it n8n demo. Select the project, which is default at most cases. Create security key, got it. So this is a security key that we've generated, and we're going to press copy. Don't worry if you want to steal this information, because by the time you see this video, the security key has already changed. Okay, so we're going to press copy. And we're going to go back to our n8n, and then we're going to connect our ChatGPT to it. So we're going to press this red colored ChatGPT node, double click it, and you see that we are required to select a credential. So we're going to create a new credential, press the API key, we're just going to paste it, whatever we copied, and that's it. Press save, and we're connected. It's that simple, guys. Now you can see the other ChatGPT nodes are still red, so we're going to go ahead and then mention that we're going to use our new OpenAI account, and that's good. They should already turn into normal colors. So you need to do this in the main content generator v3 as well as in the other workflows that we have. Remember previously we have created 3 or 4 workflows. For example, if you have the web search, we need to double click on the web search model and make sure that it's already connected to our new OpenAI account. For us to test this, we can just press execute workflow, and we're going to send a message to our model, which is search the web for the current president of the United States and include today's date. We want to make sure that the searching the web is correct. Today's date is September 25th, that's correct, and the current president of the United States is Donald Trump. Okay, correct. So we have already verified that the ChatGPT node works and we're able to search the internet. Great. We're going to save this, and we know that one of them works. Now we're going to make sure the other works step by step. The next thing that we want to do is use and connect MongoDB. Okay, so MongoDB is something that we will really use in this whole workflow because it acts as our database. Now, many of you might be familiar between like Postgres or MySQL and other SQL databases, but we have used NoSQL. Why? Because we're going to work with a lot of data and content blocks, so I prefer to use MongoDB for the storage. Okay, for those of you who do not have an account, I need you to go to mongodb.com. Okay, we're going to press get started or sign in. I already have an account, but if you do not have an account, go ahead and register. So I'm just going to sign up to show you how it works. Okay, I've already filled the form. I'm going to sign up. Okay, the first thing that we want to do is create a cluster. A cluster is basically a database that we're going to create. We're going to go ahead with the free one. It's 512 MB of storage, and I think it's pretty much enough for our usage. Okay, we're going to create a deployment. Okay, we have the username as well as the password for our database. This is quite important, and we're going to save this. We're going to save this, and we're going to use it again later. Okay, we're going to create the database user, and while everything is setting up, we are going to ignore all of this because we're going to connect it to n8n. So let us wait for our cluster to configure. If it's already done, let's press connect. Okay, our cluster is still on the process, so we are going to go ahead and set something up. we're going to go to network access, add IP address, and we're just going to press 0.0.0.0.0.0. So this is going to open our MongoDB to everyone in the internet. And we're just going to use this temporarily so that we are able to access from our n8n server. Once this is already set up and we have the whole configuration running, later we can secure the whole connection that we have. Okay, we're going to go back and see if our cluster is being set up. As you can see, MongoDB is giving us a sample data set that we can use for our connection later on. Okay, let us press browse collections. Okay, now we see that we already have a sample data set, and we can view MongoDB either via the old view, or we can also look at the new data explorer. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, they've already completely migrated. So this is how it's going to look like. We have our clusters, and while it's connecting, it should be able to load a few tables and databases that we have beneath it. So we have admin table, local table, sample. We're going to go ahead and create a new database name called n8n and a collection name called blog v3, blog space v3. Create the database, and then also we're going to have one more table that we need, which is news. Okay, great. So we already have our MongoDB, we have our blog v3, we have our news, and we're going to connect our MongoDB to our n8n. The way we're going to do this is by pressing clusters and then connect. Okay, so over here we have a connection string that we're going to copy and go to our workflow that we have already set up. Go to press MongoDB, create a new credential. You can press values or you can just do a connection string. I prefer this because it's simpler. We're going to copy paste it and then press the database is n8n. Okay, we need a database password, which is, just go to database access on the left side. Either you can press demo user and edit the password by auto generating a new one. I'm going to copy this and press update user. Okay, then we're going to go to MongoDB and paste this value here and test our connection. Credential is successfully created but couldn't connect with these credentials. I think we just had to remove whatever was at the end. And once a connection has already been placed successfully, okay, so now we have our ChatGPT set up, we have our MongoDB set up. We need to make sure our MongoDB is saved everywhere in all the instances. So if you have some instances still in red, make sure to double click and choose the MongoDB account that we have created. Okay, great. We have already fixed all the MongoDB errors that we have. One thing that you need to note is from the two tables that we have one table called news over here. So we need to make sure that the name is exactly the same. Inside our MongoDB table clusters, we need to make sure that the name of the tables is exactly the same. So we have two important tables that we need to make sure is exactly the same. The first is the news table, that the name is exactly the same, and the second is blog v3 table. If we go back to our workflow, we can see that the news table is set up already, and if you scroll down and we look at the other MongoDB nodes, it's going to use blog space v3. So once these both are already in synchronized, we need to make sure our image generation works properly. So for image generation, we're going to be using a tool, the MCP that we have previously set up. So we have the MCP image generation. Now how this works is, once it's executed by the workflow, it's going to go ahead and request Leonardo.ai for its to generate the image. So Leonardo is another tool that we can use to generate images. Alternatively, we can use Fall AI, we can use ChatGPT, we can use other tools out there. So anything really works. We're going to go ahead and set up Leonardo AI. So we're going to go to this website called leonardo.ai. Okay, so Leonardo is a tool that you can use to create images on the go. Over here we can see a lot of images that's created, and according to me it's amazing the amount of details that we can put into an image. They work with a few other models that we can experiment with, but first we need to get our API access. After we require API access, they require us to create an account, so go ahead. Okay, in the API page you're required to subscribe to an API plan or see the pricing calculator. So we're going to go ahead and subscribe to the API plan. It starts about $9 per month, so we're just going to hit subscribe. Okay, set up your payment methods and everything. Okay, once you've already successfully subscribed, you can go ahead and see that you have already been given about $9 of credits, and this can help us generate up to like 600, 700 kind of images that we need per month. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, go down and press create a new key. Okay, the name of my API key, I'm just going to call it demo. We don't require any callback URL, so that's fine. Okay, so now we have the new access key. We're going to go ahead to our previous workflow, press create new credentials, and over here we're going to do authorization, and then the value we're going to write bearer space the token that was generated. Okay, that's about it. And then we need to make sure that this also goes to the header auth account, and then we're going to set up this later for WordPress as well as for Twitter. We're just going to give it a go and make sure that these two nodes work, that we can generate an image. So what this does is this node generates an image based on the prompt that we have given. Create an image of Batman typing on his keyboard. So this is the sample prompt that we have generated, and each of them require a slug. Wait, let's see first. We have already generated an image. We waited for a while, and then we requested our HTTP to get the image from Leonardo AI. So this is the URL that was generated. Let's have a look. Right click and press go to the image, and we can see Batman typing on his keyboard. I think it looks good. His face is pretty clear, and it's got the Batman logo on his laptop, so it looks good. Okay, once that's done, we can already use this image. Okay, now we're going to go back to our main workflow, and the only thing missing right now is WordPress. Okay, so we need to configure our WordPress before we proceed further. Now I'm just going to create a new WordPress so that you guys can have a look from the scratch. So I'm a big fan of Hostinger, and I use it to make all the websites. So I'm just going to create a new website, an empty one. Okay, here we have a few templates that we can choose from. I'm browsing through which one I like, and this one looks interesting. The tech wire. Okay, pretty simple. It looks neat, and we're going to go ahead and create one. Do not install plugins, and the domain name is just, we're going to use a temporary domain name, and we're going to get WordPress. Okay, now we have our own WordPress site. Okay, it looks pretty brand new. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to see if the site works. Just going to go and preview the site. So we have our temporary domain. We have our WordPress. Okay, looks good. Let us look at the templates that it has. Template blog article, the basic lorem ipsum. Okay, no worries. At least now we have our website. So we're going to go to the dashboard on the left hand side. We're going to go to users, all users. See our user, scroll down and try to set application password. Now if you don't see anything of application password, that means something is wrong with your plugins. Okay, we're going to go ahead to plugins, NCR install plugins, and just disable everything, right? Because plugins are the main cause of that function not appearing. So we're just going to deactivate. Okay, we're going to go back to the user section, go to our account, scroll to the bottom, and then we should see application passwords here. So create a new application password. I'm going to call mine n8n set application password. Now we're going to see a random string here. We're going to copy this and bring it back to our original n8n. And we're going to create a new credential. We're going to set this as the password. We're going to go to hostinger so that we can get the main domain. Then the username will be the basic email that I have created the application password with, gmail.com. Let's just make sure that we have saved everything. Okay, update profile. Let's see if it's already saved. Okay, should be good. Now let's go back to WordPress and try saving. Okay, our connection has been tested successfully. Okay. Alright, now let us make sure that each of the WordPress nodes uses our domain. So we can go back to our WordPress, see the main domain of our WordPress. We're going to copy this and paste it in other WordPress nodes. So some WordPress nodes look like with the W icon, some look with the HTTP icon, because some of them we access directly via the WordPress node, some of them we still hit via API. So we're going to replace the base URL of the site to our new site. Over here we're going to have Spring Green Hummingbird. Okay, we're going to do the same with the meta tag node. Okay, looks good. And that's it for the WordPress. Update a post. We have the WordPress account. Looks good. Let us just check and make sure that our other tools that's using WordPress is also updated. So for example, here we have update to WordPress. I'm going to change this to our new link. Instead of yourwordpress.com, we're going to change it to. So we have the main URL. Over here it requires credential type, WordPress API, just press, create another API, and we're just going to repeat the same process as we have earlier. Okay, once we have refreshed the page, we see that everything works except for Twitter. We'll be setting up that at the end, so for now we're just going to disable it. And before we give it a go in production, we're just going to give it a quick test to see if everything works properly. Okay, we see that the workflow has run successfully. Let us just see the final image created. Okay, and it's Batman typing again on his keyboard. Let's get back to our main workflow. So this whole workflow, it creates the content and then it uploads it to WordPress. It also uploads it to Twitter and also uploads it to dev.to. Dev.to is a blogging site that I also use, very good for SEO and backlinking to your site. But then if you don't want to do this, also you can ignore it for later. And for Twitter also we can do it later. So for the time being, let us just turn this off and make sure that we're able to post to WordPress correctly. So we're going to save this and we're going to make sure that our tools are called properly. So we're going to press search the web tool. We're going to make sure that it's using the MCP web search that we created earlier. The generate graph is using the correct chart generation. We're going to make sure that the generate image is using the right MCP tool that we have named. Okay, everything looks good to go. Okay, so we're going to begin our execution. In step 1, what this does is it goes and gets articles from few RSS feeds. So here we have like BBC, Wire.com, Technology Review, Technology Crunch. These are our reference sites that we're going to use to get recent articles and then write about these articles later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these articles already align with your blog topic. So if your blog is more about food or it's about travel, you need to find your RSS feed that's more related towards this. Later we're going to explore and see how we can customize this for your niche. So we're going to go and press execute workflow. Okay, so it's going to fetch from these 6 website links. It's going to get the RSS feeds and see how many items are there. So from these 7 websites, we can see there's 194 articles out there. Okay, it's going to lag quite a bit because it's a lot of articles it's getting. But for example, from bbc.com, it's getting 1, 2, 3, 4. The first content is about man arrested connection with cyber attack. Okay, YouTube content creators, AI tool help recover. Okay, TikTok child data protection. So we have a lot of articles from BBC itself, and as we scroll further, we can see more articles being collected, being generated. This is from bbc.com, bbc.co.uk. This is from artificialintelligencenews.com. So we are collecting a lot of articles from different websites. And then we're going to filter which of these articles are most relevant. So first we're going to filter by date that has been posted at least in the last 24 hours or minimal like 1 day ago. Then for each of these articles, we're going to do an HTTP request, which means that we're going to go and browse that article and see what's the content of the article and store it in our MongoDB in the news table. Once we get the whole article, we're going to sterilize the data, and then we're going to create a crypto hash so that it's all unique. Make sure that we have no duplicate content, and if there's no duplicate content, we're going to write to the database. So these kind of lengthy articles with more than like 2000 words is very lengthy for us to put in a MongoDB article directly. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into multiple chunks of data. So when we store the data in MongoDB news table, we're going to break it down into multiple chunks, and each chunk should have about 3000 characters in size. So we have already removed along the way many of the HTML, the tags, and the quotes and unimportant information, so that when we store it, it's raw news data. So we're going to store all of this in Mongo Atlas table, and while this whole thing is running, let us see our MongoDB if there's any data inserted. So we're going to go to the news table. It's fetching documents. Okay, we already have about 245 documents. Now each of these documents contains a little bit about the article. So it contains a text that's already broken down, and it contains a little bit of data such as what the title of the article was, when it was created, what's the summary looking like, is there any outbound links to other websites such as BBC. This is internal linking. We also have few images, static files, news files. Okay, so now we can see that we have already, our whole workflow is working, at least for the MongoDB part. Okay, this thing is so from our 74 articles, we have already got about 74 data written, and as we write them, we have about 245 chunks of news articles that we can reference by creating our article. Okay, so now we're going to run the articles, but before we run, we need to make sure that we have something there. We need to make sure that we have news vector index. So we're going to create this vector index in our MongoDB. We're going to navigate to MongoDB. On the left side, we're going to press Atlas search. So for this to work, we already need some data that we have already inserted to our MongoDB. And now we're going to create the index search. So we're going to press vector search. The name should be news vector index. The database and collection, we're going to press n8n, and the news visual editor. Next, we're going to choose the path and the number of dimensions. Okay, the path should be the embedding. This is all automatic. Similarly, method dot product filter is the one that we're going to use to reference the article. So we're going to make sure that the created date is unique, and that's it. Now we're going to go ahead to the next and press create vector search index. Now what this does is it makes it easier for us to search for from our chunks of news data. It becomes easier now for us to search through them and find relevant articles that are closely knit together, right? So for example, if 3 or 4 different websites are mentioning YouTube on the rise, we're going to cluster them together, and then we're going to write news articles about YouTube based on these different news information sites. Okay, the status is still pending. We're just going to refresh and wait for it to be done. Okay, Okay, the status is already ready. All the documents have been indexed. Now we're going to go back to our MongoDB and we're going to run this workflow. What this workflow does is it goes ahead and uses an AI agent to find which of the MongoDB news articles are most relevant for today that we're going to write about. So it only filters about articles that has been posted recently, and we're just going to use that to write about our content. So it should be generating about 10 articles as we specify here. Okay, so we already have an output. We have about 13 items, and our AI agent thinks there are 13 articles worth writing about for today, which is most relevant for today. Okay, it brings it to the next step, which is get quotes, ideas, and summaries. Okay, this step has started working properly, which means our MongoDB and our AI agent is already well connected. What this does is it finds quotes, ideas, people, mentions, companies, and whatnot that has been mentioned in an article. So we have about 13 articles, and it's going to loop about 13 times. Every time it loops, it generates a new insertion in our table, which is called blog v3. So we're going to go ahead and view the table and see what data do we have. Okay, we're going to press n8n blog v3. Okay, so we have a few articles that it's writing about. One of them is OpenAI and NVIDIA. Another one is about AI powered robot. Because our topic that we have chosen is all about AI and automation as well as business ideas. Okay, so these articles have already completed step 3, which means they have facts about these articles. So if it mentioned in this article, you're going to find the facts. 78% of organizations are using AI. 64% of the leaders cite governance. Okay, you're going to find, is there any named entities? For example, the people, Rodrigo, the companies, OutSystems, and the products. There's no products mentioned, but if we look at article maybe about OpenAI and NVIDIA, we can see a lot more facts that was stated, a lot more people. There was Sam Altman, Stacy Ranson, the companies, OpenAI, NVIDIA, Oracle, SoftBank. Few products that was mentioned, AI chips. Few quotes, everything starts with compute, said Sam Altman. So these are very important information, related keywords. So these are all the SEO keywords that was mentioned in the previous article, and stuff that can help us also grow and outrank and place right below the original article while writing our content. So now that we have got all this information involved, let's see if we have finished the process. Okay, we have already completed all the process. Now we have already have the basis of the articles, and we're going to run step 4. Step 4 is the most important because it's actually the one that's writing the articles, and it should be able to reference all the tools that we have generated before to create the articles. So we're just going to give it a go. So what this workflow does, it only selects one article out of our list of articles. So for this article, it's only selecting the OpenAI NVIDIA, the chip partnership for the future. Why? It's because so that we don't bombard the AI with a lot of information and a lot of data. This can require a lot of memory processes there in the background. So we're just going to run one, and we're going to see how that works out. So for this one article, it has created a few tasks beforehand. So if you can see in this whole workflow, there's 3 main AI agents responsible for writing content. We have our task definition agent, we have our content writer agent, and we have a quality check AI agent. So these 3 work hand in hand to make sure everything works well. The first AI agent acts like the manager, the boss, the SEO manager, the head of the marketing team. What this AI agent does is it creates a list of to-do lists for the other agents to write. For example, in this article, the AI agent says to drop an introduction of 300 words. The next one is to write about the past achievements. So we look back at history for 250 words. Then we create a table that summarizes the key features. Okay, so we have a comparison table, an infographic, an adoption of AI statistics. Okay, this can be visually represented AI adoption. Okay, so what this is going to be really interesting is we do not know yet whether this is going to use the generate image or is going to use the generate graph. So that will be something interesting to see. Okay, we can see a graph analysis, write about the projected impact. Search is going to use a search tool later on, a conclusion paragraph, SEO keywords, and maybe a call to action. Alright, now we can see it's already in step number 4. In step number 4, it's already generating an image. It has already previously searched the web. So we're going to see what image it's actually generating. Right. So for each of this step, every time we run a task, the AI agent is going to use this information, going to save it in one particular format, and we're going to update to the database. Okay, it has already completed the execution. So it has finished execution, and then it's sent to the quality check agent. It sees whether it has met the threshold or not. Over here, we need to ensure that the average score is greater than 8 and the iteration is greater or equal to 1. That means it's going to run the iteration. You can customize it for how many times. If you want to run it for like 2 times, 3 times. This was the score previously. Our average score was only 6.25. So it's going to, the QC agent is going to recommend a few things. Between section 2 and 3, improve the readability by breaking up large paragraphs. Okay. SEO section, going to add related keywords. Okay. In the table comparing landscapes, illustrate better market positioning. Okay. Outbound links. Okay. Rewrite complex sentences. Okay. So our AI agent has done the QC, and then it has submitted to the task manager, which has created more items for the content writer to make. Once it has already finished the second iteration, it has gone back to the QC and check if this quality is already okay enough. So it's going to check. Okay, it means it has already passed the quality threshold, and it proceeds to the next level, which is to generate a blog title based on the article that we have, and then generate the metadata. The metadata consists of the meta title, meta description, and other information that helps rank our blog higher in the SEO ranking. So once this whole process is already completed, our blog should have a completion step of number 6. Alright, let's look. Same article which was previously completed step number 3. Let me refresh. It has completed step number 6. Has got a lot more content blocks, 11 content blocks. Has got 1 iteration. Has got the blog title, the banner image, text, the meta description, the meta title, and all these things are important for us to rank higher in our SEO. Okay, now that we already have our article, let us go ahead and publish it to WordPress. The next step is going to help us create a banner image for our main site. The next process is going to help us create a banner image for our article, and then it's going to draft and upload the image to WordPress, and then we're going to finally publish the article to WordPress. Now before we execute this step, we need to make sure that we have the right ID for the author, the categories in WordPress. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the create draft and upload images. Over here we can see the category. So based on our content pillars that we have set earlier, we have 3 main categories, which is AI, automation, and business ideas. I'm going to show you how to customize this a little later on, but then we need to make sure that these values are actually there in our WordPress. So we go back to our WordPress and we go to categories. We see that our basic theme has already gave us a few categories to play around with, but our main categories are not there. So we're just going to create one called AI. We're going to create another one called automation. We're going to create another one called business ideas. Yes, ideas. Alright, now for each of our category, we need to map the right ID. So if we press this AI, on the top on the URL, we can see the tag ID is 15. So we need to make sure that our workflow has the same thing. So for AI, we're going to set the ID to 15. And then next we have automation. Let's look at automation. Okay, you can also see the Okay, let's look at automation and let's look at business ideas. Okay, for automation, our ID is 16, and for business ideas, our ID is 17. So we'll go back to our WordPress, our n8n, and update that. So if it's AI, it's 15, if it's automation, it's 16, and if it's business ideas, it's 17. Otherwise, let's create a default category ID. I'm going to make the default as technology, so the default will be number 9. Okay, that's done in terms of category. Now we need to make sure that our author ID is correct. So we're going to automatically choose the names, and then the author name can either be one of these two, the ones that we have created before. So I'm just going to go with my default. I'm going to make it a fixed value, and we should be good to go to publish on our WordPress. So now I'm just going to execute this, and what it does is, again, it finds only one article with the completed step already 6. So if we have like multiple articles in our I see, we need to make sure that our image generation is also correct. Yes sir. Okay, then it finds only one article that we're going to write about, which is already completed step 6. So if we have like a lot of articles in our database, we have like about 13 now, but it will only choose one which is already completed up to the last step, generate metadata. Why? Is because in this step we also get an important field, which is the banner image alt text. So this banner image alt text is basically the prompt that we're going to send to our MCP tool to generate the image. Without this prompt, we basically do not know what image it's going to generate. Okay, the image has been generated successfully. Let us look at the next step, is creating a draft. Now this process usually takes quite a while. Why? It's because that we have saved all our information regarding our content blocks in Markdown format. Markdown makes it easier for us to edit, to change, to alter, and to reshuffle, whereas HTML is kind of a bit tricky. So in this last step, we actually converting all our Markdown format into HTML format. Alright, the process finished for converting, and then it's able to send a post, set the meta tags, and all the way until it updates MongoDB. So if you like to use this workflow just until it's up to draft and then you do a manual review, I suggest you leave this step here and then you disable the next step, just like turn it off. This is if you want it in draft versions, right? So let us look at the draft article and see if it's already okay or not. Yeah, so this is the link to the draft article. OpenAI NVIDIA chip. It's very AI generated image, but I think it looks good. So it's able to give a nice opening. It's using the category that I wanted, the AI category. And then it makes the past achievements, has a comparison table, which is kind of good, I guess. It's generating an infographic. I'm actually surprised at how good this one is. Gigawatt. Oh, it's so perfect. You can see there's still some flaws. Usually we can fix this later on by upgrading our image model. Okay, we can see that they have a strategy analysis, a stock market reaction, how many percent increase. So I think all this has a lot of articles that it refers to. You know, scroll to see, okay, that's reference an article, has outbound links, and the articles are valid, not bad. And then we've got a few more article links. I think, yeah, all of them have valid links. Okay, applications for the market, references, all these are also links. We have a good conclusion, join the conversation, and then some post conclusion comparison. It's nothing related to our original articles, but I guess it's important that we mention other competitors as well. If you remember, all these things are there in our related keywords, and I'm glad that it actually includes them to boost our SEO. Alright, so if you want it to publish automatically, I suggest you enable this one where it has publish content to WordPress articles. right? So if we press it, it's going to automatically update the blog article into published format. So if we open our website, we should be able to see that the article has been updated. Okay, we already have our article posted on the headlines, on the front page, the correct author, the correct date, comments, a good introduction, and a very nice title. So I would say that this is a success, and it's pretty amazing so far. But one thing to note is that we have not uploaded Twitter. So what's very important about all these websites is that how can we drive traffic to these articles. I will show you my Twitter in which I automated the posting for every content we post on Twitter. Let me show you. Okay, so this is a page that I have which automatically promotes all blog articles I have on this page. Here is another post. It's all leading back to my original website, articles.m0.com. Over here our website link is different, but I'm just going to show you how to automate on Twitter also, so that at least we can bring good traffic to our site. Not only we think about how we can create content, but how can we distribute the content across the web. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to set up Twitter for your account. The first thing that we want to do is find the Twitter node in our main workflow. So we're going to scroll until we find the Twitter node, and we're going to see that there are no credentials connected. So we're going to create a new credential, and we see that there's an OAuth redirect URL. Now we're going to copy this URL, and then we're going to go to our developer x.com account. So I'm just going to open up the window here. So if you go to the website developer.x.com, it's going to urge you to log in with your Twitter account and make an account. So if you don't have an account, I suggest you strongly make one. Okay, find the default project. Then we're going to go down and find user authentication settings in the main page. So we're going to press edit, scroll to the bottom, and find the app info callback URI. So we're just going to change this with our new n8n URL. We're going to add another URL and copy paste the same thing. We're going to change the first one into OAuth 1, and the second let it remain OAuth 2. Then enter the name of your website URL and press save. Okay, once we have already done that, we're going to go to keys and tokens. In keys and tokens, we're going to find that there are consumer keys as well as OAuth client ID and client secret. Now we are interested in the OAuth 2.0. So we're going to copy the client ID from here and paste it in our n8n, and we're going to copy the client secret here and paste it in n8n. Going to press save and connect my account. Okay, perfect. We have one successful connection. Next, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to find our previous MCP tool. You remember we had created a previous image generation tool. Now we're going to turn on our upload to Twitter. We're going to double click and set up our account. So over here we're just going to press create a new credential, and instead of using the OAuth 2.0, we're going to go scroll up and find the consumer keys. We're going to press regenerate, find the API key here, paste it, do the same thing with the API secret, connect your account, and we are good to go. It's that simple. Okay, now that we have already connected our account, we are going to go ahead and proceed. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to customize it according to your blog. So what we're going to do first is define your niche, right? So we're going to decide your content pillars first, and that's the most important part. So if you go to step 2, choose articles relevant categories, you're going to see a bunch of content pillars that we have already set previously. So for me, the content pillars are AI, automation, and business ideas. Maybe the content pillars are something different for you. Maybe you like to write about travel blogs or about food blogs. So we're going to find relevant websites according to this. So I'm just going to, out of the box, I'm just going to choose a niche of food articles. Okay, so we're just going to write food. I'm just going to like food, diet, and yoga. Food, diet, and yoga. The description is articles on food, drinks, nutrition, meals, and anything that pops into your head, right? And for diet, we're going to be like articles based on weight loss, and then muscle gain, hydration, vitamins, and protein maybe. And in yoga, we're going to do articles on wellness, health, lifestyle, and other interesting concepts, right? So once we have already defined our main categories as food, diet, and yoga, what we're going to do next is we're going to find websites that write about these three concepts, and we're going to use that as our main RSS feed. Just going to save this real quick. Now we need to adjust our RSS feed. So previously we have all about tech and AI and automation. Now we're just going to change this into articles about food, blog, and wellness and health. Okay, the best way I usually do this is basically search for a concept or like a yoga blog. So we find articles like this, daily cup of yoga, my yoga blog. This is just for examples, yeah. So you already have an existing list of websites that likes to post on a daily basis, and you just check if it has an RSS feed. Usually it's in the link of the website /feed, and now we know that it has got a list of RSS articles that we can copyright from. So we're going to copy this and bring it to our n8n. So do like this, comma. Okay, we're going to search for other niche. This time we're going to go for like diet. Okay, we have a few: nutrition healthy, nutrition facts. Just going to go search them up /go feed. Okay, now we have another feed that we can copyright from. Just going to copy this link, and we're going to go back to our n8n and paste it. Okay, so now we have yoga, we have nutrition, we have about diet. What else do we need? We need about food blog. Just going to search something, food blog recipes. Okay, then we're going to search if it has an RSS feed. Usually it's in /feed. Okay, it has got some data that we can use. Copy this and add it to our list. Okay, now we have 3 articles. We have 3 websites that we can reference from. Okay, just for the reference, I'm just going to add a few more. Okay, now we already have a list of websites that we can reference from. Okay, and then now we need to set our categories also. So we need to go to our original website, and we need to adjust the post categories. So we need to add our new categories that we just created. In this case, it was food, diet, and yoga, right? So we need to create articles of food, diet, and yoga. Okay, let us adjust the ID of our posts. So the first one is food with ID of 18, diet 19, and yoga is 20. Save it real quick. Food, diet, yoga, everything looks good. We can turn off the filter node if we are referencing any website that has a low publication amount on a day-to-day basis. This filter node only filters articles that was published in the last 24 hours. So if we are referencing websites that write about food or write about yoga or meditation, these websites generally do not publish on a day-to-day basis. So we can just turn this filter off. Okay, let's go. Okay, we can see that the post has been completed. It has already finished the drafting process. It's already been published to WordPress, and it's also published to Twitter. So let us look at what it looks like on WordPress first. Okay, we have a new article. Indulge in protein-packed bliss, ultimate single-serve cottage cheese pancake. I'm hungry just reading about it. Okay, let us look. Okay, it has made its main article a dish, pancake. I see some glitters of cheese. Okay, we have an article. We have a list of ingredients, instructions, serving suggestions, nutritional benefits, expanded nutrition of cottage, blah blah blah. We have our tables. We have another image of a similar looking pancake, FAQs, playful reminder. We have a few reference articles, and yeah, our article looks good. It's also using our new category called food. I think this is only first article in food. Yeah, there's only one article, so it seems it's already working fine. Now let us look if it has published in our Twitter. Okay, it has published a food menu on Twitter. It spoils the rest of my content flow, but it's okay, we at least can see, and it redirects us to our WordPress site. Okay, so apart from this, now that we have already seen the whole flow from beginning, from idea until very end, I think now it is time for us to discuss about the pricing cost. Okay, now let us look at our image generation cost. Now let's have a look at Leonardo first. Yeah, let us look at our cost. It seems from our Leonardo, we're using mostly Flux Dev for image generation. Of course, we can change this to ChatGPT, to other models like Rock for image generation, but for Flux Dev, it cost us about 5 API credits. So with our existing API infrastructure, we can generate about 700 images if we are posting about 10 times a day, and each article contains like about 3 images. So more or less we have enough credits. Maybe each article should be limited to 2 images so that we fit inside the credit limit of Leonardo. Okay, for ChatGPT, let's look at how much our API consumption has been. Okay, we did not generate any images today, and we only use for chat completions and for web searches, which took quite a lot. So out of the 2 articles we generate today, it costs about like $1. We generate one article about food, and we generate another article about NVIDIA and OpenAI. So 2 articles, it consumed like about $1. It mostly used up the chat completions as well as the web searches, which is kind of fair. Also the embeddings. Out of all of them, I think the web search is the most expensive, but at least we now have a understanding. If it costs about $0.5 per article, and we are running about 10 articles a day, it's $5 a day. Into the length of 30 days, it's $150. Now how do we reduce this? It's actually by reducing the number of iterations. Let me show you. So we have a definite threshold, right? So if we reduce the average score, or let's say that we do not want to iterate the article any further, we just change it to 0, and so it won't run a quality check and improve the article. If it does not improve the article, that means our embeddings, our chat completions consumptions are way lesser compared to before. So that's one way of reducing the price of OpenAI's consumptions. Okay, and then we have our MongoDB cost, which is still free for now, and we also have our n8n cost, which is about $5 a month. So let us count this in total. So we have like about $5 n8n cost. We have about $9 to $10 after tax for Leonardo. MongoDB is still free. And then we have for OpenAI, which is about $150 if we post 10 articles a day. Okay, once we have completed all the processes, we can go ahead and activate the workflow from the top. This way, we don't have to manually press the buttons, and it will run on itself automatically every single day. And then we can look at the results. Okay, so this is more or less the results that I have received. And when I run it from the 25th July to 25th of August, the site actually received quite a lot of new impressions that I've never seen before. Before, the site was completely dead, and now it's pretty organic and pretty active. About roughly 11 to 38 people come and visit the site on a day-to-day basis. And it's very exciting because the site was absolutely dead and had no articles, had no backlinks before, and now it has already got a little bit of reputation up in the SEO indexing. So this is my experience with the content automation, and I'm looking forward for you to share yours. Alright, that's it for our content automation workflow. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via Discord or via email in the link below. You can purchase the workflow in the one-time Gumroad link in the description below, or you can also get access to our Skool community where I share a lot about AI automation, new workflows, new technologies being developed. I hope you enjoy your AI journey and happy automating.